The unseen script. What if every conversation you've ever had was subtly steered by posture, eye movement, a blink? Beneath every word spoken lies an invisible script, one written in expressions, gestures, and silence. You might think influence is about what's said, but in truth, it's what's not said that shapes reality. Today, we're diving deep into the psychology of influence, where body language meets behavioral profiling, and nonverbal cues wield more power than paragraphs ever could. Let's explore how understanding this silent language can transform your relationships, your confidence, and even your self-awareness. Imagine if you could walk into a room and read the emotional temperature like a book. What if you knew when someone was holding back, when they were bluffing, or when they were genuinely excited? This isn't a magic trick, it's behavioral literacy. And in today's world, it might just be one of the most powerful tools you can develop. Because while the world screams for attention, those who can see the subtle gain the greatest leverage. Every day, you're communicating more than you realize. Your body whispers the truth your words can't always say. And if you're not aware of this unspoken language, you're not just missing out. You're misinterpreting the world. The face. A map of experience. Every line, wrinkle, and muscle twitch reveals a story. A lifetime of emotion etches itself into our expressions. Happiness? It settles in the crow's feet near the eyes. Anger furrows the brow. Skepticism lifts the cheeks and tenses the lower lids. Reading a face isn't just about observation, it's pattern recognition. By tuning into these unconscious signals, we begin to understand not just what people are saying, but what they believe, fear, or conceal. Our faces are emotional history books. They capture not just moments, but trends. Chronic sadness wears on the eyes. Resentment tightens the lips over time. Joy, when lived fully, softens the whole face. Learning to read this map means moving beyond micro-expressions. It means asking, what emotional life has this person lived? When you start paying attention to subtle facial shifts, an asymmetric smile, an eye that darts just before a statement, you unlock new dimensions of empathy. You don't just hear people, you start to truly see them. The blink rate. A window to the mind. We blink without thinking. But the frequency of those blinks, that's a neurological giveaway. A low blink rate signals focus. A high rate? Stress, discomfort, sometimes deception. If someone starts blinking rapidly when financial projections come up, or you mention their ex, it's not just a tick. It's a tell. Attention lives in the silence between blinks. The question is, are you watching closely? Blinking is like punctuation in a conversation the body is having with itself. Fast blinking may suggest cognitive overload, someone trying to process too much at once. Slow blinking, on the other hand, can indicate relaxation, confidence, or even mild disdain. In high-stakes situations, job interviews, negotiations, conflict resolution, tracking blink rate can tell you when someone's guard goes up, or when you've hit an emotional nerve. It's a real-time monitor of psychological tension. And what about your own blink rate? What are you unconsciously revealing in your moments of stress, boredom, or doubt? Becoming aware of your own signals is just as important as reading others. Because influence begins with self-awareness, emotional armor. The genital guard, men often subconsciously cover their genitals when they feel vulnerable, threatened or insecure. Women tend to cross their arms over their abdomen. These ancient protective instincts are more than quirks. They're evolutionary responses to stress. Understanding this helps you recognize when someone is on defense, even if their words sound agreeable. Their body speaks a more honest language. This behavior is primal. It's deeply embedded in our nervous systems. Long before we had language, we had defense mechanisms. The genital guard is one of the most telling. It may manifest as a laptop held low, a briefcase conveniently placed, or simply a hand lingering in front of the torso. These gestures often occur in moments of psychological discomfort, when someone's authority is questioned, when personal topics arise, or when they feel socially exposed. Recognizing this allows you to shift your energy, to de-escalate, slow your speech, or physically mirror their position to create safety. Learning to spot emotional armor also teaches you compassion. What looks like rudeness or aloofness might actually be someone shielding their vulnerability. And by recognizing the armor, you give yourself the chance to reach the person behind it. Lip compression and reassurance gestures. Tight lips signal withheld opinions. A finger to the mouth? A subconscious need for comfort. These are the cues that let you know the conversation just hit a nerve. These gestures don't mean a person is lying. They mean the topic matters more than they're letting on. And now you know where to lean in or back off. Lip compression is a micro-barrier. It's the body's way of saying, "Not now." Often it's paired with other indicators, avoiding eye contact, shifting posture, subtle throat clearing. When these behaviors stack, the tension is unmistakable. Reassurance gestures are equally revealing. Someone might stroke their neck, rub their thighs, or tap their fingers in rhythm. These self-soothing actions tell you they're emotionally activated, even if their tone is polite. And when you learn to pair this observation with curiosity, not judgment, you create deeper conversations. As an influencer, not in the social media sense, but in the true human connection sense, your job is not just to push forward. It's to sense friction and respond skillfully. These subtle gestures are your roadmap. The eyes, mirrors of tension and truth. Beyond blink rate, the eyes reveal so much more. Shutter speed, the speed at which eyelids close and reopen, speeds up under fear, slows with comfort. Smooth lower eyelids often suggest high hypnotic suggestibility. Rougher ones, skepticism. When the eyes shift, dart, or lock, there's meaning in motion. The wise observer doesn't just make eye contact, they read eye language. There's an old saying, "The eyes never lie." That's not entirely true, but they certainly speak a dialect of truth. People's pupils dilate when they're attracted, curious, or challenged. They constrict under stress, disgust, or threat. Eye contact that lingers too long might signal dominance or discomfort. Avoidance of eye contact isn't always dishonesty. It can mean cultural discomfort, anxiety, or neurodivergence. Context is king, but the eyes always add a layer. Watching the eyes during pivotal moments, when a decision is being made, a secret considered, or trust extended, gives you insight no words can match. Influence lives not just in what we say, but in where we look. Behavior as a movie, not a snapshot. Too many people analyze body language like it's a photo. But real insight comes from watching change. When did their arms cross? What word made them flinch? Influence and intention live in motion. not stillness. Pay attention to the moment behavior shifts. That's when the truth peeks out. Think of human behavior like a movie reel, not a still image. The subtle transitions, the sequences of micro-gestures, the rhythm of movement, this is where emotion lives. If someone leans back the moment you say a particular word, it's not random. It's the moment the internal narrative shifted. To truly read someone, you must look for the baseline first, how they are when they're at ease. Only then can you notice the deviation. Did their voice pitch change? Did they start blinking more rapidly or scratch their neck? These small actions, when analyzed in context and sequence, form a behavioral arc. And within that arc is truth. Effective communicators are great behavioral editors. They cut through static and focus on the narrative thread. Influence is not about reacting to snapshots. It's about sensing the unfolding story. Creating comfort. Influence begins with safety. People respond best when they feel safe. The fastest way to build trust isn't with words, it's with presence. Angled posture, not directly facing someone. Open palms, eye-level engagement. These signal non-threatening energy. You don't need the perfect line. You need predictable, grounded energy. Influence starts with presence. Before trust is built, biology has to feel calm. Safety is a felt experience. Our nervous systems are constantly scanning for danger through tone, posture, and micro-expressions. When you show up with open body language and patient energy, you're sending a powerful signal. You're safe here. Don't underestimate this. Creating comfort is more than kindness. It's strategy. Because no one absorbs information when they feel threatened. If your goal is persuasion, the first step is permission. And permission comes from felt safety. So breathe deeper. Slow your movements. Match their tempo. This isn't manipulation. It's harmonization. And when people feel seen, not sold to, influence flows naturally. The power of identity agreements. Want to influence someone? Don't tell them what to think. Suggest who they are. Instead of saying, you should be open-minded, say, most people who seek growth value openness. Now they're not agreeing with you. They're aligning with their own self-image. Identity is the root of all persuasion. Humans are driven to act in ways that are consistent with their identity. When you frame an idea as part of who someone already believes they are, you bypass resistance. You create what's called an identity agreement. This is why great leaders say things like, "You're the kind of person who doesn't give up." That line is more than encouragement. It's a cognitive anchor. It makes someone feel seen, understood, and motivated to live up to the version of themselves you just mirrored. If influence is the art of guiding decisions, identity agreements are your secret doorway. Speak to who they want to be, and they'll walk through willingly. Priming. Influence before the conversation. Starts priming is the quiet setup. Mentioning calm, success, trust, even in unrelated sentences, plants seeds. Studies show that exposure to certain words impacts behavior. Subtly expose someone to the idea of patience, and they become more patient. Influence often begins before a single direct suggestion is made. The human mind is a sponge for cues, and priming is how you tint the water before the sponge hits it. Use imagery, words, and tone intentionally. When you talk about warmth, connection, or shared goals, even casually, you shift how the brain processes what comes next. Want someone to be receptive to feedback? Prime them by talking about curiosity, learning, or growth before you even bring up the topic. The subconscious mind doesn't separate themes neatly. It makes associations, and those associations become behavioral nudges. Subtlety is key. You're not programming robots. You're shaping landscapes. With the right priming, people enter the conversation already leaning in your direction. Confidence is contagious and mostly nonverbal. You can't script true influence. You embody it. Confidence isn't what you say. It's how you take up space. Calm hands, still shoulders, a relaxed face. All communicate confidence without ego. And when done right, your confidence transfers to others. That's what great leaders, teachers, and parents do. They don't dominate. They stabilize. True confidence is a nervous system, not a performance. It's not bravado. It's breath. It's stillness. When you speak slowly, move purposefully, and listen fully, you show that you're not chasing approval. You're anchored. People mirror the emotional tone of the most grounded person in the room. So, if you want to lead, don't push, center. Don't perform, resonate. Your nonverbal presence can either escalate tension or diffuse it. Confidence isn't loud, it's gravity. The most influential people aren't the most charismatic. They're the most congruent. And when your inner world matches your outer posture, people feel it. They trust it. And they follow it. 11. The hidden power of stillness. In a world addicted to motion, stillness speaks louder than action. When someone becomes truly still, mentally, emotionally, physically, it signals mastery over impulse. Stillness isn't absence, it's presence distilled. True stillness allows others to project onto you. It draws out what they're avoiding. In negotiation, stillness creates space for truth to emerge. In leadership, it creates gravity. In relationships, it creates safety. The still person becomes the emotional anchor others orbit. The next time tension rises, try silence. When others rush to fill the space, let your stillness pull the signal from the noise. That's not passivity. That's influence through presence. Stillness is misunderstood because it appears inactive. But stillness is attention. It is the full weight of consciousness rooted in a single moment. To be still is to stop leaking energy, to cease fidgeting, oversharing, over-explaining. In stillness, you become a vessel others can rest into. True influence is calm magnetism. It is not grasping, it is gravity. Stillness creates this magnetism. It gives others the space to find themselves without feeling your desire to change them. And that creates trust deeper than words ever could. 12. Synchrony, the physiology of connection. Influence is not just verbal, it's biological. When two people are in sync, matching posture, tone, rhythm, something deeper happens. Their heart rates begin to align. Their brain waves start to mirror. This is synchrony, and it's a key to rapport. You don't need to mimic like a robot. Subtle, natural mirroring builds unconscious trust. It tells the nervous system, this person is safe. This person is familiar. Connection is often felt before it's formed. Synchrony isn't trickery. It's empathy expressed in movement. And when used with care, it becomes the silent handshake of trust. We are wired for connection, and synchrony is our oldest language. It's how children bond with caregivers before they can speak. It's why people sway in rhythm at concerts. And it's why conversations feel better when bodies unconsciously align. When you match someone's pace of speech, their breathing rhythm, even the micro-timing of their head nods, you enter their nervous system's rhythm. This calms threat responses. It opens curiosity. It makes persuasion possible. But remember, synchrony must be authentic. If forced, it feels like manipulation. Let it happen gradually. Let your curiosity guide it, and the body will follow. 13. The role of breath in presence and power. Watch someone who commands a room. They're not rushing. Their breath is deep, paced. Breath is the foundation of vocal tone, posture, and emotional regulation. Most people breathe shallowly when nervous. It shortens thought, heightens reactivity, and leaks insecurity. But when you master your breath, everything else follows. Try this. Before you speak, exhale fully. Let your words begin on an empty breath. This grounds your tone, extends your presence, and allows you to carry calm into the room. Your breath is your anchor. It is the hidden thread connecting your nervous system, your voice, and your influence. A shallow breath creates shallow presence. A deep breath builds rootedness, patience, and clarity. Train your breath like you would train a muscle. Use it to lengthen pauses, to regulate rising stress, to project calm. In conversation, your breath speaks before you do. Let it speak calm. Even a single breath before you respond can shift the entire tone of a conversation. It signals thoughtfulness. It creates room for the other person to feel heard. And most importantly, it returns you to yourself. 14. Micro-expressions, truth in a flash. Micro-expressions are split-second facial reactions that reveal raw emotion. They flash across the face before we regain control. Anger, disgust, fear, surprise. They all show up even when we try to hide them. Learning to recognize micro-expressions gives you X-ray vision into the emotional truth behind someone's words. It's not about calling people out. It's about tuning in. Observe during key moments. A job offer, a disagreement, a compliment. What shows up on their face before they speak? Influence begins with accurate perception, and perception begins with the blink of truth. Micro-expressions can't be rehearsed. They are emotional reflexes, and this makes them gold for the observant. Catching a flash of contempt or a spark of joy tells you far more than a rehearsed response ever could. To develop this skill, watch interviews on mute. Notice the eyes, the mouth corners, the brows. It's like learning to see a heartbeat in facial form. And over time, you'll stop being surprised when the truth shows up later. You'll have seen it already. Use this awareness with humility. It's not a weapon. It's a window, a gift that lets you see beneath the surface. And when you see others deeply, they feel it. 15th. Territory, space, and psychological ownership. Where we place our belongings, our coffee, phone, notebook, signals psychological territory. People who expand their objects outward are claiming space. Those who tighten inward are retreating. Even seating position reveals power dynamics. People who sit at the head of the table, who keep their posture open, are asserting unconscious dominance. Not with words, but with placement. To influence is to understand space. Give it, take it, use it to support, not to intimidate. Because the person who understands territory isn't trying to own the room. They're trying to read it. Humans are territorial beings. But our territories aren't just physical. They're energetic. How someone enters a room, how they claim a seat, how they space themselves. This tells a story about their inner landscape. Expansive posture shows confidence. Contraction suggests uncertainty. Watch how people interact with their space, and you'll see how they interact with themselves. And when you respect their space, When you adjust to include, not dominate, you become more trustworthy. Influence isn't about taking more space. It's about knowing when to fill it and when to leave it open. Mastering territory means knowing your boundaries and honoring theirs. 16. The value of listening with your eyes. Most people hear with their ears, but the influential listen with their eyes. They watch what's not said. They observe tone, pace, micro-gestures, and most importantly, they don't interrupt the silence. Silence after a comment is a window. Will they fill it with honesty? A nervous joke? A deeper truth? Listen with your eyes, and people will feel seen, not just heard. In that space, connection deepens, and so does your ability to influence. When you truly observe someone, you're witnessing the parts they aren't verbalizing. The tapping fingers, the shallow breath, the subtle shift in posture, the eyes darting just before a big statement. These are not distractions. They are data, clues. The eyes tell stories long before the mouth speaks. And if you hold a gaze, not to intimidate, but to witness, you may offer someone the safety to be honest. That's where truth lives. Not in forced answers, but in the truths that fall out when someone feels seen. Listening with your eyes means suspending judgment. It means letting your attention speak louder than your opinions. And in a world flooded with noise, that kind of listening becomes sacred. 17. Anchoring emotions through gesture. Great speakers use gesture deliberately. A hand to the chest when talking about sincerity. A downward motion to signal closure. Repeating these gestures anchors emotion in the audience. You can do this in everyday conversation. Want to signal care? Touch your heart? Want to show openness? Gesture outward with open palms. Over time, people associate those movements with meaning. Gesture is memory. Influence isn't just what people hear, it's what they feel. And gesture helps them feel it deeper. Our bodies create emotional bookmarks. When you raise your hand in celebration or clench a fist in resolve, your body remembers. And so do the people watching you. Gestures, when used with intention, turn abstract feelings into embodied experiences. A grounding motion can calm a tense room. A rising hand can uplift an audience. A still palm can halt aggression before it rises. This is not about performance. It's about integrity. Let your hands echo your heart. Let your movements reinforce your meaning. And over time, your gestures will become trusted signals of your emotional truth. 18. The energy you leave behind. What people remember most isn't what you said. It's how you made them feel. The energy you bring into a room lingers. It settles into the walls, the pauses, the moments after you've left. Are you remembered as calm or chaotic? Grounded or frantic? Encouraging or critical? Influence isn't just about what happens in the moment. It's about the aftertaste. Leave others more regulated than you found them. That is influence at its highest level. People won't always remember your advice or your insights, but they will remember how safe they felt in your presence. Whether they could breathe more easily, whether their guard dropped. Your energy is your signature. It lives in the rhythm of your voice, the way you hold silence, the look you give after someone speaks. And when your energy is stable, you become a sanctuary. People return to your presence not for answers, but for alignment. The greatest leaders, healers, and teachers all understand this. Your presence is your message. And long after your words fade, your energy remains. 19th. Language as an extension of presence. The best communicators don't use complex words. They use precise ones. Words that match their energy. Language that aligns with presence. When your words and energy don't match, people feel it, even if they can't explain it. Congruence matters. Say less, but mean more. Use language as an extension of your breath, not a mask for your nerves. When speech flows from presence, it doesn't need to persuade, it resonates. Language shaped by presence is spacious. It's not rushed. It lands softly, and it sticks. People don't just hear it. They feel it. You don't need to speak more to influence more. In fact, sometimes it's the opposite. The right words, said from the right energy, have the power to reshape a room, to disarm defenses, to restore calm. When language and presence align, people feel safe. Not because you said the perfect thing, but because your words and your essence didn't contradict. That alignment is rare, and influence grows in rare spaces. 20. The influence of being fully attuned. Attunement is total attention. It's not glancing at your phone while someone talks. It's not waiting to speak. It's full presence. When someone feels fully attuned to, they open. Their nervous system relaxes. Their voice steadies. This is when real influence begins, not through pressure, but through connection. Influence is not force, it's resonance. And resonance comes from attunement. Be where your feet are. Tune in. And people will follow your frequency. Attunement is felt. It's sensed. It's what makes someone feel like they matter. Not because of what you say, but because of how deeply you listen, how fully you respond, and how present you remain. Most people are starving for genuine attention. In a world of distraction, undivided presence becomes magnetic, healing, influential. So don't just show up. Be there, with your full body, your full breath, your full awareness, and let your presence do the talking. When you're attuned, you're no longer performing. You're connected. And in that connection, influence becomes effortless. The art and science of seeing. Human behavior isn't an exact science. It's a fluent language, part intuition, part psychology, part presence. The better you understand it, the more human you become. So next time you're in a conversation, don't just listen to the words. Watch the silences, the stillness, the sudden blinks, and tight lips. Notice what shifts. Influence isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper beneath the surface. Learn to hear it. Read the room. Read the face. Read yourself. And you'll never see people the same way again.